The Arizona Diamondbacks have to be one of baseball's most fun teams early on this year. They're a really good team who has been very bad over the past couple seasons. In fact, last year they went 74-88, and the year before in 2021 they were a major league worst 52-110. On top of that, the D-backs have only made the postseason once since 2012, and that was way back in 2017 where they were swept by the Dodgers in the NLDS. So it's safe to say recently it's been a very hard time to be a Diamondback fan. But obviously, as I said, this year things are looking up. As we stand today, the Diamondbacks sit at 39-25, which is good for first place in the NL West, and they're only a half game back of the Braves for the best record in the National League. Now, before I go into whether I think they're legitimate World Series contenders or not, I want to go over this team top to bottom. First, let's take a look at the D-backs offensively. As we stand today, they're a pretty solid offensive team as they currently have a 766 team OPS, which ranks 5th, and 74 home runs, which ranks 12th. When first looking at this D-back offense, we have to start with Corbin Carroll, who is having an insane rookie year. He's currently hitting .307 with 13 home runs, 18 stolen bases, and a .966 OPS. And if those numbers don't impress you enough, he's currently on pace for a 33 home run, 46 stolen base season as a rookie. If it weren't for Ronald Acuna having an insane season himself, Carroll may very well find himself towards the top of the NL MVP rankings. As for some other names in this offense, we can't forget about Christian Walker, who had a career year last year, and this year he's also having a great season as he's hitting .253 with 12 home runs while providing them with great defense over at first base. Ketel Marte is having a bounce back season as he's hitting .276 with 9 home runs and 6 stolen bases. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. has been all around one of the best pure hitters in the National League as he's hitting .310 with 9 home runs. Jake McCarthy got off to an extremely slow start, but since getting called back up from AAA, he's been pretty good. He's still only hitting .188, but he does have 12 stolen bases as he's a threat on the base paths. Geraldo Perdomo is quietly putting together a pretty good season over at shortstop as he's hitting .287 with 5 home runs and 6 stolen bases. Josh Rojas is hitting .243, and while he doesn't have any home runs to this day, he has 26 runs driven in as he's been a key contributor to this offense. Gabriel Moreno offensively has been pretty good behind the plate as he's hitting .280 with 2 home runs. And lastly, we can't forget about Emmanuel Rivera, who has been thrust into this lineup and has played very well as he's hitting .367 with 15 runs driven in. So as I said, this offense has been pretty solid this year, and looking at this lineup top to bottom, I think they do have the potential to keep it up all season long. Now getting onto their pitching, it isn't quite as good as their offense as they currently have a 4.28 team ERA, which ranks 19th. In their starting rotation, Zach Gallen has been a Cy Young candidate up to this point as in 79 innings he's posted a 2.75 ERA with 88 strikeouts. Merrill Kelly has also quietly been a very good pitcher as he's been almost as good as Gallen as so far in 77 innings he has a 2.92 ERA with 82 strikeouts. Now outside of those two pitchers, they haven't necessarily gotten much reliable innings out of any other arms, but they have gotten some decent innings from Tommy Henry, Ryan Nelson, and Zach Davies. As for their bullpen, it's similar to their starting rotation. It's not very good as they currently have a 4.12 bullpen ERA, which ranks 19th. Andrew Chafin and Miguel Castro have been splitting duties in the 9th inning as Chafin to this day has locked down 8 saves while Castro has 6 saves. Each of these guys haven't been lights out, but they've been good enough as they both have ERAs in the high 3s. As for some other arms in this bullpen who have been contributing so far, we have Scott McHugh, Dre Jameson, Kevin Ginkel, and Kyle Nelson. So similar to their starting rotation, it's not necessarily great, but it's been getting the job done so far. I wouldn't be surprised to see the D-backs pick up some arms at the deadline. So now that we went through this team top to bottom, let's take a look at their World Series chances. Now, as I highlighted throughout the video, they are a very good offensive team, but they do have their holes in their pitching staff. They don't have too much depth outside of Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen in their starting rotation, and they don't necessarily have a set-in-stone closer. But I think it's very realistic to believe that they're going to go out and pick up some arms at the deadline. And hypothetically, even if they don't pick up pitchers at the deadline, which I obviously think they're going to, but if they don't, I still think this offense has the potential to carry them pretty deep this season. The one blemish that this team does have is the fact that they really don't have any postseason experience. All these guys are relatively young and haven't had too much postseason experience, but I think the Diamondbacks are talented enough to get over that hump. If we're looking at the National League today, there are a few other legitimate contenders in my eyes, and that's the Dodgers and the Braves. And so far against those teams this year, the Diamondbacks Diamondbacks have held their own. They've played the Dodgers 8 times this year, where the Diamondbacks have beat them 5 of those 8 times, and against the Braves, they did lose 2 of 3, but they played relatively good and were competitive in that series. So as we stand today, can I call the Diamondbacks the favorites in the National League? I don't think so. I don't think they should be, because the Dodgers and Braves have much more postseason experience, but it's not out of the realm to say that the Diamondbacks could potentially surprise everyone and beat either of those teams to make it to the World Series. Would I put money on the Diamondbacks coming out of the National League? I wouldn't, because like I said, a lot of those teams are much more experienced than them, but still, I think they're going to compete this year, and I think they're a very good team. So to officially answer the question, are the Diamondbacks legitimate World Series contenders? I think as of today they are, but I wouldn't necessarily put money on them winning the World Series. Let me know what you guys think of the Diamondbacks down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.